If you're going to shit all over another artist's body of work, at least have a bank account and a body of work to back your shit up.
Damn! I'm gonna expose the art world. Can you do this? How about this? Huh? I think you can.
There's an artist on YouTube that put my back up because I took this particular video personally because it's one thing for people to virtually have their opinions on art and stuff, but when they start to dismiss things.
There's an artist, Yayoi Kusama. Guys, she puts polka dots on things.
Or do this, and I'm performing for you.
Jay-Z dressing like a friggin' bisexual heroin addict. Degenerate. Anyway, I don't want to end up like Whitney Houston. Degenerate. Or Amy Winehouse. Degenerate. Hey, make sure you stay to the end. I'm going to show you the biggest degenerate that you've ever seen.
Join me as I dive into this world of the self-proclaimed artist. Yes, I'm air quoting a hoe.
Excuse me, do not air quote at me.
I will air quote when I need to air quote to stress a point.
Shadow Artiste, to see if his art practice theories hold water. Is someone such as him qualified to make these actual judgmental and sanctimonious comments about other artists when his own work is actually lacking? There's a funny irony to the name Shadow Artiste. The artist way, she states that a shadow artiste is a... Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Henry Haight, I'm an artist, and here we talk about all subjects of art, my mad ramblings, my perspectives on art, the creation of art, also theories, and my hacks, failures, and all that stuff. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah, yeah. Anyhow, my pronouns are...
You are so uncool.
And...
I only came here to do two things, man. Kick some ass and drink some beer. Looks like we're almost out of beer.
I wanted to make this video because when I'm surfing on the web, I just want to see what's out there to get content for my channel on artist theories, and I would like to hear their ideas. I've discussed this particular artist before, but there was a video he made where it really, I don't want to say it made me angry, but it did affect me personally because one, he was discussing somebody that I actually know or knew personally. The dismissal of a lot of the artists that he talks about. He uses the words degenerate. You have a look.
Hey, make sure you stay to the end. I'm going to show you the biggest degenerate that you've ever seen. Shadow Artiste, downtown Toronto, trying to inspire people to be artists while I become one myself. Anyway, I don't want to end up like Whitney Houston or Amy Winehouse, you know, with a bunch of talent and then have it all go to waste. Somebody like Amy Winehouse, who was like, oh my God, she was going to be huge with her style and her music or whatever, was a full-blown heroin addict. She had to, you know how hard it is to travel around the world on heroin? It's very, very hard, guys. And she was a heroin addict before the pharmaceutical companies took it over. She was like old school, back in the day when you had to buy it in Chinatown at the pool halls from the Vietnamese.
Oh God, you're disgusting.
And then there was that really famous artist from New York, Jean-Michel Basquiat.
What?
Oh no, she did not.
You Americans always butcher the French language.
Jay-Z dressing like a friggin' bisexual heroin addict.
There's an artist on YouTube that put my back up because I took this particular video personally because it's one thing for people to virtually have their opinions on art and stuff, but when they start to dismiss things just to be provocative.
Just study a little color theory, a little composition. You can study that over the weekend on YouTube. You're doing history, which I know you guys hate, but you're not going to be doing history learning about some dude from 1472 or whatever. Don't worry, it's not important.
Or do this, and I'm performing for you. No. Because it's not authentic, it's not genuine, and I think that if you're going to shit all over another artist's body of work, at least have a bank account and a body of work to back your shit up. I'm talking to you, Shadow Artiste. Yes, you, with your dots. He made a video about artists on drugs and virtually completely dismissing of them, and the sanctimonious posturing. Artists have funneled their inner turmoil and pain and trauma into their art, which then becomes relatable to others that shares in that particular message, which can be transcendent to relatability. It's a gift to the world to funnel pain. It's an evolution of trying to give a voice to our suffering and virtually allow it to become something emotive, relatable, and essentially healing. But I guess, Shadow Artiste from his Ivy Tower doesn't actually feel that way. And in some ways, I think he relishes saying shit like this.
Here's something you probably don't know. Abstract paintings in the industry of the hotels are considered paintings to not look at. Abstract art is used a lot not to look at.
Just saying.
Was a full-blown heroin addict.
Okay, clearly this guy is talking out of his ass. Amy Winehouse died of alcohol poisoning. She believed that she was going to get better. All artists have virtually done that. And I know that she's part of this Now 27 Club. Around that time, we lost some great, great artists in the span of 10 years. We lost Amy. We lost Prince, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, David Bowie. And David Bowie was a huge role model to me. And although he wasn't an addict, he too suffered from substance abuse issues. And I know certain people go, but the whole thing about artists dying at their own hands. Ernest Hemingway used to believe that every one of his books, anytime he wrote a book, each one of his books killed him just a little bit. And I think that says something about the myth of the tortured artist thing. I think that we as people, artists are no different than any other person. We are just given these talents or these particular gifts to try to filter something, to make something out of what we see, what we feel, how we want to say it to impact the world. And I know that Amy did that with her music. Frida Kahlo virtually painted her pain. And, although she wanted to bear children, she never bared children. She never had children at all. And she had a very toxic relationship with Diego Rivera. And that was put into her work. I do not believe that we should carry on the myth of, the tortured artist, but it is apparent that there are certain artists that virtually grapple with inner turmoil and trauma that we all do. It's just that sometimes with artists, be writers, musicians, visual artists, they put that into the work because that is more personal to their artistic journey. And it's a healing process that I think Shadow Artiste completely misses the mark. I think if you're going to virtually disregard other visual artists and other artists' body work that has actually been most proven influential, impactful, and a global influence on other artists, is it fair for someone like him to actually take this stance? You've got a few pieces decoupaged with PVA glue? Really? Who's fooling who here?
Don't be fooled.
Okay, so Shadow Artiste whose government name is, I believe, Walter Viveros, is a middle-aged 55-year-old mixed media maker who hails from Toronto, Canada. And in his own words, drops facts, records his artistic journey to becoming a successful artist or end up in the welfare line.
Sure, Jan.
His words, not mine. Okay, so I'm not, I'd like to, but no. But here's the thing. Walter's nom de plume or moniker is Shadow Artiste. And in this particular book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, she states, The Artist's Way, she states that a shadow artiste is a person with artistic potential who is blocked from pursuing their own creative path due to fear, low self-worth, and often masking this with jealousy of other artists. Name-calling and taking a moral high ground and calling people degenerates. These artists who've grappled with traumatic stuff is telling about this individual. And I'm not trying to rip him a new one in a way, but some probably say yes. To struggle with mental illness, personal demons, and inner turmoil is and turn it into their suffering into influential work is impressive, and it isn't something to place someone on a high regard or make them better than them, because what they were able to do was give a gift of hope to other people. I mean, Frida Kahlo did that with her work. Amy did that with her music, although she sang about the love of a toxic relationship. It is going to be forever into her canon of one of the greatest works and albums in rock and roll history. This is just fact. But at the same time, 15 years ago, it was okay to like make fun of all these people and stuff. And since the Me Too movement, for a guy to say this about women, about a particular woman, or even, you know, what he says about the other Keith Richards and about Hunter S. Thompson, these people changed the way we actually did things. Hunter S. Thompson put himself first and foremost in the story. That was completely different, you know, from like the Beat Poets and everything. And I was, because I'm a Warhol fan, I did the artist lineage all the way to the Beat Poets. Firstly, it changed literature. And yes, you know, he was a hellraiser, and there are particular things that, like I said, as a recovering addict myself, you don't want to be in your 60s doing drugs and stuff and, you know, on some permanent vacation, because it's Groundhog Day with your worst enemy, because it is a distraction to what is bothering you. I think perhaps if he learned lighter directions, gradients, midtones, contrast, you know, his stipple would actually change. PVA glue.
Walker? Oh no!
Oh man, what are you doing? Clearly, I think looking at his work, he's at the beginning state of his creative path. Nothing wrong with that. But I think that when you're trying to make videos of the content that he does just to shit on other artists' work and dismiss it, just to be provocative, I get that a lot of people look at contemporary art and go, yeah, it's bullshit, it's this, it's that, because it is a rich man's club. Yes. But the thing about all artists is all artists can hang with all makes of people, from politicians, rock stars, you know, drug addicts, normal people. It doesn't matter. They mix and mingle with everybody. And that is one of the most amazing things about being an artist, because your work is available to everybody. But I think a lot of people turn their nose up at the contemporary art world as a snobbish. But what Shadow Artiste is doing is not only turning his nose and thumbing his nose at the contemporary high art world, but I think in popular culture as well, and taking a moral high ground that, you know, for some reason he, in his ivory tower, is better than these people when they're dealing with, you know, inner demons, personal traumas, and issues that are all their own. We all, in some ways, have our crosses to bear, and we all have our own personal stories. How we deal with that is a different issue. And if someone who's struggling still is able to make something beautiful and relatable, shouldn't that be commendable? Or should we just disregard all artists like, oh, that person's a drug addict, or oh, that woman's a stripper, and, you know, she gave her, but we don't know her story. And I think, you know, we should be a little more empathetic to people's problem, because I think the old way of how we deal with creative people dying at their own hands and how we treat people with addictions isn't working. Addiction is a bitch, and it's a tough monkey to get off your back. And if you're a creative person, it makes it harder for you to actually create something. That first and foremost, because when I went through a divorce and bankruptcy, I didn't pick up a paintbrush for 2.5, nearly 3 years, because I didn't think, and I still had to tattoo because I had to make a living, and I had a really crippling bad drug addiction. I'm not proud of it, and I don't want to make anyone uneasy, but that is the truth of the fact that, you know, I was still going through therapy, because in my heart I really wanted to get better. And I believe that no one wants to be an addict. First and foremost, I don't believe anyone wishes, yeah, I'm going to be an addict. This one thing that really broke my heart is that as I've been working on this painting, trying to like work out, this one particular piece hasn't sat well with me, and I keep going back at it, and I've been trying to work on it for 2 years, where I'm like, okay, I'm getting it, and I was thinking about making this content, and while I'm painting, Alice in Chains came on. The song Nutshell came on. It talks about addiction. Lane Stanley, who was also suffering from substance abuse issues, it's one of my favorite songs, and it's on the album Jar of Flies. The song is a very melancholy statement of his feelings dealing with substance abuse issues. The vernacular of "in a nutshell" is to put into very few words. And the lyrics are not lengthy. They're quite harrowing and heartbreaking. And I started to think about any addict who has a talent and suffering, because you want it to stop. You want this pain to go away. And sometimes, and I'm only speaking for me as a recovering addict, the pain's still there, but the drugs don't work. And you try to keep piling more on. And that is the catch-22, because you don't know what to do and you feel guilty. And you start this loophole, Groundhog Day, all over again. What really made me angry about Shadow Artiste, or Walter, and his 55-year-old, holier than thou stance, is how dare he? Really. These are people's parents, daughters, friends, loved ones who are in pain. As an artist, you should be, yes, and I'm pointing, you should be empathetic to their suffering. It doesn't make it right. You don't have to like what they do, but you, at the very least, you should feel some level of humanity for how they are feeling and what brought that on, because they are trying to voice out or exercise or purge that pain away through their work. So how dare you fucking just tear another artist's work down? Where do you get off? Seriously. I mean, that's the thing. It isn't, I'm not ripping you on your work. I'm ripping you on your stance as just a human being. Where's your compassion? Where's your humanity? Where's your empathy for these people? Anybody. Because who's to say that in 10 years' time, he's not, hitting the bottle or doing whatever. I'm not, God forbid, I would not wish addiction on anybody, because it's an awful, awful thing to go through. If Shadow Artiste or Walter really faced his fear and had a good look at his own work and his life, to put those things that make it taboo, no, don't discuss those things, his work might improve or be transformed. They go, okay, yeah, that makes someone want to do something. This art is a joke. No, I don't necessarily have to like Shadow Artiste's work, but I would at least very much try to understand where he's coming from in his work. But more than anything, I'd be like, why the fuck would I want to talk to this guy when he's just like, and this isn't just about Amy. It's about all people who are. In one of my books up here, I remember when the book Just Kids by Patti Smith, talking about Robert Mapplethorpe, who was a famed photographer who changed contemporary photography forever. And he did beautiful photography, but he also did some highly graphic and explicit photographs. Who was gay and died in the AIDS epidemic early in the 80s. That when she talked about his homosexuality, she called it a poetic curse. And that's when I remember reading that. That's how I felt about the gift of being an artist. You have a talent or an inkling to want to create something, and you don't know what to do with it, because it's this unharnessed energy, this lightning bolt that you've been given, and you're like, oh, what do we do? Like, am I going to be any good? That, to me, that gift, that talent is a poetic curse, because it is hard to try to make good of that, and then you go, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? Like early on, about 14 years ago, I made this piece. And this was one of my early works that virtually sold in my first real gallery exhibition. You know, I'd already been a tattoo artist. I'd already done certain exhibitions with underground things, but I wanted to merge my story and, you know, Catholicism and stuff. I wanted to be provocative and be true to me. I think all artists have that struggle. I would hope that Shadow Artiste has a bit of insight to understand that, because I'm sure whatever he does when the camera's not rolling, or he's probably done things that, you know, in his path that he's probably not willing to, you know, or very proud of, and doesn't want people knowing. But that's him. Like Yayoi Kusama, and she put that, you know, and the woman has struggled with mental illness her whole entire life. And I myself, I have been sectioned, or as they put in the loony bin, not once but twice, primarily to my addiction. And again, I've standing here before you sober. I'm living. I'm glad I'm living, and I have to keep going. Would I like to see Shadow Artiste continue and be a success? Absolutely. But I think that when someone just disregards everything, it's really telling, and it's a little sad. I think that when you do shit like that, it says more about you. That whole, you know, old wives' tale, when you point a finger at someone, you know, you've got one pointing that way and three pointing back at you. Yes, you know, and I did this witchy poo thing. I'm 57. I don't give a fuck. I've lived, you know, but you know, I'm still trying to on my path, and you know, there are ups and downs, and life is not fair. I think the artists that he just diminishes and discredits and disregards as freaks and all these other things, they've been able to virtually influence others to create, to write words to paper, to music, you know, to lyrics, to put oil to canvas, pencil to paper, whatever. But these things have really been influential. I've always been drawn to the darker things in life. I have no, you know, I never really wanted to read Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret. I wanted to read about the gritty stuff and all that, because that seemed a lot more fun, and rather than, you know, reading about Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves. Okay. You know, whatever. With Hunter S. Thompson, there was a thing that made me laugh, is that he wanted to write about Republican, I think it was a Republican Democratic convention, and Rolling Stone was going to put him in a Volkswagen. He goes, I can't chase the goddamn American dream in a fucking Volkswagen, because he wanted Rolling Stone to pay for a Cadillac. And I can roll with that. These are the things that were a kind of, I would, rather than that comment, I took, okay, know your worth, know your value, and be humorous about it. That's how I took it. I just think that with Shadow Artiste should be slightly more careful and focus more on his work than trying to stay stuff that's provocative, like, hey, you know, this biggest piece of shit, blah blah blah, whatever. But it's just like, dude, come on, just really, is that the best you got? You know, even on their fucking worst day, they've still made more of an impactful, influential body of work than what you've got right now. So, not to hand your ass to you, but, you know, put whatever disgruntled issues you have going on, put that into your work, make a sharp left, and see where that takes you. That's my only advice. You know, I'm not saying fuck you. Well, I probably did earlier, but that was just kind of like, that was for Amy, because, you know, I wanted her to get better, and life took her. No longer walking my dog, coming into my shop, make me laugh. You know, but I was fortunate. Stop doing certain things that were harming me, because addicts virtually harm themselves. They harm their bodies. It deters them from their destiny, and that's the reality of it. But he doesn't say any of that. He's like, what a waste. I think that when we talk about these things, it helps bring us full circle to virtually, hopefully, have some empathy for these people that are struggling. That's it. So, you know, so if you're thinking I'm trying to come for a Shadow, I don't know the guy, but, you know, I don't hate him, but like, how dare he though? Still, really. That's all I have to say. Now, so thank you for watching this video, and if you have any comments, share them down below. I will leave a link to all these other things. If you are struggling with any kind of issues, be it mental health or substance abuse, alcohol, whatever, my advice is seek help through your friends, find support. I will leave some links down below that there is a way out of this if you want to get to keep creating, to make a better you. That's all I want for anyone. And I just want to say thank you for watching. Hit that notification for all the updates. Subscribe, like, share. Tell me to go fuck myself. Blah, 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 blah. Anywho, thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep creating, guys. Take care.